The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
The day is Monday, July 26, 2021. What do you do in your fight for justice when the people who hold power over you intentionally use that power to trigger you, or to literally set you up, or to absolutely plant evidence in your car as you wait patiently to see how this police stop for your Black life is going to end? Let's talk about not taking the bait from the powerful. Up first, Georgia Ford with On the Clock.
The Olympic opener happened this weekend. It was absolutely beautiful and very inclusive. But we're reminded the amount of pressure Black Olympians face, not only on the court, but also off the court. Naomi Osaka was criticized by Megyn Kelly for pulling out of the French opener due to mental health issues. Now, the one thing I can say is that I'm extremely grateful women like Tiffany Cross are using their platforms to speak up for Naomi, to stand in the gap and, in a sense, be a big sis. Take a listen to the way that Tiffany Cross decided to show up and defend. Listen.
23-year-old Naomi Osaka, who announced she would not participate in post-match conferences during the French Open, and ultimately ended up leaving altogether and withdrawing from Wimbledon, citing her own mental health. Now, Kelly accused Osaka of not being genuine after the tennis star beautifully graced the covers of multiple magazines, which were, of course, shot months prior, which Osaka explained in a since-deleted tweet. Now, we reached out to Kelly's attorney for comment, but did not get a response. But when Osaka understandably blocked Kelly on Twitter, this woman said that Naomi just didn't like tough questions. Such insight from the land of the inconsequential. But also, girl, bye. First, shout out to all of you out there prioritizing your mental health, especially when dealing with someone who spews nonsense like this.
By the way, for all you kids watching at home, Santa just is white. Yeah. Jesus was a white man, too.
Okay. Second, to all you Karens watching at home, please make a list for your white Santa and pray to your white Jesus for a life. Please. Because we're out here living our best ones, fighting on the front lines to preserve democracy, taking up space at the highest levels of government, making long overdue and necessary changes in newsrooms, winning Emmys while twirling on our haters. We come from a long line of torchbearers, lighting fires that illuminate the world and burn away chains.
Ben, Dr. Mack, first of all, it brings me so much joy to see so much Black girl magic this early in the morning. And like I said, I'm thankful that Tiffany Cross decided to use her platform to defend Naomi Osaka, but I'm reminded that she shouldn't have to. If Naomi, who is a star in her own right, decides to not do news conference interviews, decides to not play in any tournament due to her mental health, that is her choice.
Yeah. Dr. Mack.
Well, first of all, good morning. I think when we take a look at Megyn Kelly, and first of all, Sis Cross said it all, and she said a lot. When she talked about the fact that Megyn Kelly wants to say that Naomi just doesn't like tough questions, it reminded me of what happened in August of 2015 during the Republican primaries. And if we can remember, Megyn was one of the panelists that were asking the questions, and she asked Trump, about the fact that brought up his statements in regards to women that he didn't like. He called them fat slobs and dogs and the likes. And as a result, Trump went after her. Not only did Trump go after her, but his surrogates went after her, Newt Gingrich. So when he went after her, Megyn basically gave us the playbook of why she's acting the way she's acting now. And she said that neither her nor Fox News wanted, quote, any sort of war with Trump, because that's what they got. And when she got this kind of backlash, and it made her back down on it. But then not only did it come after Trump, it came from Newt Gingrich. And remember that Newt said, when Megyn asked the tough questions, if you will, about Trump and his sexual advances or accused him of his sexual improprieties with women, Newt, the Speaker of the House, then said, she's fascinated with sex. And then Megyn came back and said, no, I'm not fascinated with sex. I'm fascinated with the protection of women. She said that. So now the question has to be, Megyn, where is your protection of Naomi? Where's your protection there? So now when she starts this type of attack against Black folk, Black women, she's with Fox News. When she gets that kind of blowback from Trump and Fox News, now she leaves them and she starts going to, quote, the fake news sources. Remember the interview she did with Charlie Rose, where she's now trying to explain everything. But when she spoke with Charlie Rose, she basically told us, she told the whole world exactly what this was about, because it dawned on her. And she said to Charlie Rose, all of a sudden, I became the story. I didn't want to be the story. And she realized, as Sister Cross said, she's so irrelevant. This Karen is so irrelevant that she realized that in order for her to become relevant, she now needed to become the story. So she went inside acting as Pavlov's dogs. She went inside the playbook of her trainer,
Fox,
Trump, saw his playbook, appealed to that base, and that is what we're now seeing. But again, remember what she said. I'm fascinated not with sex, but with the protection of women. Where is that protection now?
That's a great question. Ben?
I want to extend it to the idea that she considers herself a professional to begin with. Megyn Kelly considers herself to actually be talented to begin with. She's a political apparatchik, nothing more. And she found out very quickly when she left Fox News that the rest of the world doesn't play the kind of tomfoolery that they play over at Fox News. She went to NBC, which she also at one time regarded, or at least Donald Trump regards as fake news. And she went there in order to try to rebrand herself, thinking that her success on Fox News, being the white face of white supremacy at Fox News, saying Santa Claus is white, who cares? Jesus is white, he's not, who cares? But she tried to take that over to Fox News and over to NBC News. And this is what happened. This is how the mediocrity of whiteness is rewarded in this country. After 2 years of flat ratings and controversy, because as you said, Brother Mac, she realized now she has to make herself the story. Didn't work for her at Fox News, except for the fact that her mediocrity allowed her to walk away with a $69 million contract paid, that will be paid in full if it has not been completed, paying out to her. She got that simply for the strength of her mediocrity. And she has the nerve to criticize the professionalism of Naomi Osaka. I'm with Tiffany Carl's girl bye.
And I think that is very inhumane to step on someone's toes when they are trying to just take care of their mental health. I think that it is very inconsiderate. I think that, especially given her age, Naomi Osaka is a young woman. She's a young athlete. She's very introverted. We've all seen it. If you watched the Netflix documentary that's been done on her, she's very quiet. She stays to herself. And so I think when you hear her say that it gives her anxiety to do these news conferences after she plays, and it's hard for her. It's very understandable if you've gotten to know her her in any capacity. And so to hear this young woman, especially when you think about the amount of suicide, rates increasing among young people, right? This is a serious thing. Mental health is a very serious issue. And for Megyn Kelly to come and bully this young woman who's only trying to prioritize her mental health, it feels it's ugly. You don't go pick on someone who's saying, hey, I want to prioritize my mental health issues. This is hard for me. I'm having anxiety. And so Megyn Kelly, I feel like she deserves all of the criticism that Tiffany Cross sent her way. And Megyn Kelly has a lot of growing up to do. That wasn't the end of Tiffany Cross's segment on Megyn Kelly. I believe we have the second part of that. So we're going to go ahead and take a listen if we do.
Coincidence that Snow White and the 7 dumb takes she's had recently overwhelmingly target Black women. The amazing luminary Nicole Hannah-Jones, whom Kelly went after over the 1619 Project. The Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, who Kelly said should stop whining about the treatment of baby Archie. Olympic hammer thrower Gwen Berry, who Kelly suggested be removed from the Olympics due to her protest. Kelly is really just trying to claw her way back into social relevance and into the hearts of Fox News viewers by regurgitating their favorite attacks, all while benefiting from the work that we do. We're quite used to it. But when it comes to us, sister, stop punching above your weight. You keep asking for this smoke that you really don't want. You want to act like a high school mean girl, and you'll get treated that way. Sit down, be humble, while our left stroke keeps going viral. Let the grown women speak. You're not invited to this table. You don't have the range.
Absolutely.
And drop the mic.
I want to make one correction. When she spoke with Charlie Rose, she emphasized again that they didn't want to pour any more fuel on this fire in a war with Trump. It was with ABC News that she made the statement that all of a sudden she became the story. But again, go back and think about what she said after Newt Gingrich said that, when she talked about Trump's accusers with these women, that he said she was fascinated with sex. But then it was her words. I'm not fascinated with sex. I'm fascinated with the protection of women. And then listen at the women that Sister Cross named.
Yeah.
Naomi, the sister from 1619 Project, Meghan Markle. Go down there, all women of color. See, this is why, as you said, once she left there, or they kicked out of Fox News, I doubt very seriously she left. But once that pressure came, and now she went to these other news sources, and she bought that kind of mindset over there, thus this comment about blackface. Ratings dropped, Brother Ben, as you said, because she understands the way the game is played. In order to become relevant, in order to get your fan base, let me go right there in Trump's playbook. And that's what a lot of these Republicans are looking at. They're looking at the fact that negative 45 came out in a way that they hadn't seen arguably in their lifetime from a politician. I mean, just to be so, or at least forget not in their lifetime, because we go back in the 50s and 60s, we saw a lot of this. But he came out in such a way that basically showed them all a playbook. And now this little puppy, this little Karen, looked inside that playbook. And when she bit Massa Trump, and Trump spanked that butt, along with all the other folks that spanked that butt, and she saw her relevance, as Sister Cross so aptly described. When she saw those ratings and her relevancy going down, she now went back and said, look, if there's one group that I can go after, it's Black women.
Black women. Wow.
That's exactly what she has done.
Wow. Well, I just really briefly to add to that, I absolutely think that this is so reflective of the divisions between what white women consider to be feminism, because you see how she jumped in there to try to say, I'm interested, like you said, Brother Mac, the example that you gave, she's interested in protecting women, but not Black women. And that has been historic in terms of white feminism as it pertains to Black women and womanism. But Georgia, I know you know that far better than the two of us.
But the other part to it is that in this country, you go back to George Wallace when he stood before that door.
Yeah.
Everybody understood that when you want to become relevant and popular in this country, let's go to the one group of people and demonize them. And that group is us. So again, with the platform that Sister Cross has, Sister Georgia, with your platform, we're calling this Karen out, and we must continue to no longer give them a free pass, because again, it comes a time when your silence becomes criminal. And I appreciate you, sister, for you too stepping up to protect Sister Naomi and all of the sisters in our community against this Karen.
Absolutely. We need more women who are going to, do what they can to destigmatize mental health issues. In our community, there's already this stigma that we shouldn't go see a therapist, that we shouldn't get counseling. But if you are having anxiety or stressed, overwhelmed, depressed, any of those things, you have to take care of yourself. So I applaud Naomi. That's a tough call to make when you're professionally, putting something on the line. You're giving up a sacrifice to take care of yourself. That's a hard call to make at such a young age. But I think she made the right choice, and she's killing it in the Olympics. So you know what, Megyn Kelly, go find some business. You just mad that this sister is gracing covers. She's killing it on the court. And what does Megyn Kelly have going on? Absolutely nothing. So
she got her white supremacy going. White supremacy going for her. She has her white supremacy going for her, but that's about it.
And the other thing that you have
that's going out of style, Ben. It's going out of style.
The other thing that I want us to do is, if you put those covers back up, look at the beauty of which. Oh,
she's Sister gorgeous. Naomi,
absolutely. Yeah. And trust and believe that there was an envy going on in little Karen that was just, it just boiled over with her, that she just absolutely could not take that. But again, the other part I want us to all understand, if we turn the focus solely to Naomi, look at the way to think about how history is going to remember this sister. This is a sister who, as she was ascending to the top, she didn't wait till she got to the top, but as she was ascending to the top, she took on issues that were critical to the oneness of humanity. She talked about equality and the fact that of what Black folks and brown folks were going through in this country.
That's right.
While she's going through all of this, she's bringing to the forefront, as you said, Sister Georgia, a topic that is maybe taboo in the Black community: mental illness. Yeah. These are the things that this sister stands for. And this is why she was honored with the opportunity to light the torch at the Olympics. It is an absolutely incredible honor. You don't honor folks who are very average. And again, as I said, greatness is when you do things, even though you're afraid, but you do these things so that they can benefit others. Sister Naomi could have absolutely just hushed and hit the ball. She could have just stayed on the court, stayed in her lane. Instead, she used her platform to elevate inequality in the country, and more importantly, in this world. And that little Karen, you'll never, ever, Megyn, you will never, ever have anybody to describe you in such a humble, appreciative way.
How did Tiffany Cross say it? Girl, bye.
That's it. Yeah.
You guys, I want to pivot here because I know we only have a short time left. There was some footage that came across my Twitter feed this weekend from Philly. It's not necessarily new, but it hadn't quite made national headlines. And so I wanted to point it out because there's also been some developments. You may or may not have seen the footage of a Philly officer deleting evidence from a man's phone, a Black man who he had pulled over, who he drug out of the vehicle after the man was asking to talk to this officer's supervisor. And so not only did the cop pull him out of the vehicle, but in the process, the man drops his phone. And so the cop ends up picking it up and deleting the recording of the police stop from the brother's phone. Now, what we're hearing now is after, of course, community pressure, there has been an investigation on this officer, and it sounds like the officer is now facing charges. I want you guys to take a look at the footage of when this officer, you can see here, he's getting ready to pull him out the car. But then we also have some B-roll of when the cop just straight up goes in the phone and deletes the recording.
Wow.
You can see here. And you can see that the phone is cracked because it was dropped on the ground. Look, the officer goes into the phone, goes into the photo album, and deletes it. Deletes the recording.
Wow.
Now, we know how critical these videos can be in holding police accountable. That video right there could have been evidence for this man's case, and the cop just deleted it, right? And then we know the next line after that is what? Oh, I forgot to turn my body cam on. And now we have no evidence of this encounter right here, this man being drug out the vehicle. Take a listen to what the man had to say about the incident after he found out that the supervisor was aware of what was going on. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I hope he's definitely held accountable because, like I said, I'm nervous for me and my children.
So, you guys, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. This is definitely a different situation than what we've seen in some other police encounters. I am grateful that this man is safe, that his children are safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Brother Mac, you see the same thing I see?
Extremely concerned
Go ahead,
about
my
the
brother.
state
Go
of
ahead.
policing in this nation.
I just wanted to see if everyone noticed the exact same thing I noticed first. The color of the hands that is carrying out the bidding of this police state and this white supremacist. That's a black hand in this video. That is from my best estimation, this is a black person who is this is a black cop who is deleting the video. Am I seeing this right? Or is the pigmentation on my screen messed up this morning? Brother Mac, what do you see?
Well, I won't necessarily go that. I'm not that clear that it is a black cop. I'm not clear. But what I am, and let's assume that it is a black cop, or let's assume it's not. Either way you look at it, this is why I look at these. You know, I wouldn't call him a cop. This is the quintessential example of a thug. Thug is anybody who commits a heinous crime. You know, this brother, and it appears that this thug was not only deleting the videos, but he may have been deleting things that were important to this brother. You know, and as you said, Sister Ford, if something were to go wrong, now there's no evidence, your body cam isn't turned on. This is the quintessential definition of a thug. And given that this happened back in March, and this guy is on administrative leave, on restricted duty, this is why we have such a distrust for law enforcement. And although we're seeing this now, this type of thuggish behavior is played out over and over and over again. And so, being to your point, even if this guy were a black cop, think about, why did we want black folks to enter into law enforcement? They can bring some type of understanding and sensitivity to us, because we've seen the distorted, racist, brutal treatment that we've gotten at the hands of others. But now when these brothers and sisters come into law enforcement, that brotherhood, that Kool-Aid that they drink now takes over them, to the point that they now have to, if they want to be accepted by their brethren, and trust and believe, you're more like an ugly stepbrother to them. They care absolutely nothing for us. So for this type of behavior, not only the behavior of this thug cop, but the behavior of the thug supervisor and all of those who are over him, because the moment that this footage is shown, he should have absolutely been fired. Right. And criminal charges. Where's the prosecutor now coming to bring charges against him for destroying evidence? Exactly. There's absence. And this is why we're talking about the entire system being corrupt. Let's not just focus on the thug cop, but focus on his thug supervisor, focus on the thug prosecutors, focus on the thug judges, all of them, because this is about as open and shut of a case as one will get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people always ask, why do you have such an emphasis on police accountability throughout your work? And I think it's because when they're not killing us, they're doing this and they're getting away with it. And the only times when they're not getting away with it is when community is standing up, protesting and applying pressure and saying that you have to do better. We deserve better. And so now Officer Tyree Burnett is facing charges of tampering with evidence as well as obstruction of justice. But had there not been public outcry, he would have just been on administrative duty. And so we have to continue to put an emphasis on police accountability, because when you're not watching, they delete the evidence. And then what happened to Ronald Green, where they can explicitly cover up the death of a Black man because of, quote unquote, the lack of evidence, or because of the evidence that they deleted. And so we cannot continue to turn a blind eye and act like we're not seeing these situations unfold. Right. The state of policing in America has eroded to a state that has no integrity, that has no regard for Black life. And so for me, I feel like it is dangerous to not continue to put an emphasis on police accountability.
Exactly.
But Sister Ford, not only is it their actions, but it's also their narrative that we have to stay vigilant about. Go back to where you are. Go back to where you are right now in Minnesota. Think about what the first narrative was in the murder of George Floyd.
That's it.
So when people are asking, why do we focus on this? Because this problem has permeated and dealt a severe blow to our community since its advent. This is a problem that we must stay focused on in order to change this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, you guys know I could continue to talk about this as so much of my work has centered around police accountability. We've interviewed more than 20 moms across more than a dozen states, and they say that very thing, especially the way that the media is used to perpetuate the police narrative in a way that oftentimes criminalizes the victim and makes the family look like they have no credibility. And so it's one thing when you just hear one case, one family, in one city, in one state, but having done extensive research on this issue and interviewing families from all across this country who are all having the same experience. This is not a city department issue. This is not a state issue. This is a national a national pandemic by itself. That absolutely needs to be turned on its head. And the reality of it is, you guys, we got to keep talking about this until something changes. And right now, we're still waiting for the federal government to pass the George Floyd Policing Act. So
let me say this, Sister George. When we talk about the fact that it's apparent that Black lives don't matter, I think the reason why we're looking at a pandemic in law enforcement is because the law doesn't matter to them. These thugs believe that they are above the law, which is what they do.
That's exactly right.
In addition to racism.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching, and stay around for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Baby, you set my soul
We'll be right back with more from the Benjamin Dixon Show. Say hello to someone in the chat room. Introduce yourself. Benjamin Dixon Show, like it or not, on the clock, coming up.
Baby, you set my soul on fire every morning and every evening. Ooh. And maybe we can't get any higher. But if you like to take a ride, we can discover what we're hiding. Taking your time and I sure don't mind. But every inch of my body's getting wild, wild, wild. The way that you move is like a love machine. Come be my king and I'll be your queen. I'm running so hot, I need to cool me down. I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground. Yeah. I'm running so hot, I need to cool me down. I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground. Baby, you set my soul on fire every morning and every evening. Ooh. And maybe we can't get any higher. But if you like to take a ride, we can discover what we're hiding. Baby, you set my soul on fire every morning and every evening. Ooh. And maybe we can't get any higher. But if you like to take a ride, we can discover what we're hiding. Baby, you set my soul on fire. And maybe we can't get any higher. Yeah.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals. Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I want to thank Georgia Fort for the time for On the Clock. Those stories, I want to highlight the last story that we just got done talking about with the police officer deleting the video out of the driver's phone. We just watched that video and listened to the audio. There's another video that went extremely viral yesterday on Twitter. And it's a video of a cop accused of planting evidence in a man's car before inspecting the car. Now we have the video and we're going to play it, but I want to give you a little bit of background before we play it. And this is from I'm reading directly from daily.com. They have a good summary of it along with all the videos. They said the video appears to show a Village of Caledonia police officer approach the back seat of a vehicle and toss a torn up baggie inside. The man recording the video, seated in the front passenger seat, asked the officer, "What's that?" To which the officer replied, "What's what?" The man in the passenger seat warns the officer that he had him on camera, but the officer casually responded that he also had footage of his body camera. "We're all good," the officer said. Just to give you a heads up, the video went extremely viral because of what you're getting ready to see. Those of you who are listening, you won't be able to hear what happens, but this is footage and audio of a police officer planting evidence that went viral to the tune of multiple millions of views yesterday. Let's take a quick look at it.
Hey, bro, what's that?
What's what?
That you just threw in here.
What word?
I got you on camera, bro.
I got you on camera. We're all good.
Hey, bro, you just threw that in here.
Yeah.
Let's run it back one more time just for the sake of people who are watching. It does come in really quickly. Look at the bag, the little bag that he tosses in the back seat. Run the footage one more time. Right there.
Hey, bro, what's that?
What's what?
That you just threw in here.
What word?
I got you on camera, bro.
I got you on camera. We're all good.
Now, what's important?
Hey, bro, you just threw that in here.
Yeah.
What's important in this video is two things. You can see at the end of the quick exchange about who's recording who on video, you can see the officer pulling out gloves. And those are the gloves that they use in their investigations to not contaminate the scene. The reason I bring that up is because the excuse for this was that the police officers had searched the person who was in the back seat, and the person in the back seat had this baggie on them. Now, the problem with that assertion, and this is what the police department is running with, according to the Daily Dot, the problem with that assertion is that, well, as soon as he threw the bag in the back seat, he put on his gloves as if he was getting ready to make some type of inspection. We have seen so many times, Brother Mac. How many times have we seen, or have we heard? Forget about seeing, because video is rarely new in terms of how ubiquitous it is. And this is why that officer in the last segment deleted the video, because they understand the impact. And I'm surprised that they didn't try to delete this video. But we have heard so many times, and we have seen previous video evidence of police officers planting drugs on the scene in order to catch a collar. And this video just came out yesterday. This officer is getting excused away by his police department, saying that it belonged, the bag, claiming that the bag that they threw in the back seat belonged to the person who was in the back seat. That's not what I see in this video, and that's not what millions of other people saw on social media. What are your thoughts after seeing that video? There's 6.7 million views since yesterday. A lot of folks feel the same way.
Brother Dixon, when I say thug, we're normally talking about an individual, but the definition of thug also applies to an organization, an association. And again, what we saw in Philly, what we're seeing here, what we saw in LA, go back to the Rodney King. Again, I gotta keep going back and I tell you about history. This is another example where if this association of thugs, his higher ups want to say that's not what we saw, go back to that videotape that the brother took of the Rodney King beating. They sat in court and watched that video and they would not believe their own lying eyes. There is nobody with any sense of reasoning, any ability to see, that does not understand what just happened there.
Right.
Again, this is the way that they excuse this. And this is why I say this isn't about, this is prime example of, this is not a few bad apples. This is an entire organization of thugs, and the way that they deal with us. They not only plant drugs, they plant, if I'm not mistaken, I think that same issue was brought up in obviously one of the most polarizing trials of the century, if you will, the OJ trial, where they talked about planting evidence.
Yeah.
This type of behavior by these thugs is commonplace. The only thing that's happening now to all of white America is you are getting an opportunity to see
it. That's
what
it.
We have been talking about since the advent of law enforcement. You're getting a chance to see it. And now that you see it, because it's happening to us, you now want to say you don't believe your eyes, your lying eyes. I will not believe them. This tells you how deep the racism is. Anybody who questions that video, if you want to understand what racism looks like, here's a prime example of what it looks like. Now think about that. You cannot see or accept that this thug threw drugs in the back of his brother's car. You cannot see that January 6th was an insurrection. And so what do? When your folks are caught very guilty of it, in the case of this thug, you dismiss it. In the case of the insurrectionist, in which that was treason, you give them 8 months. America, this is your racist nature, like it or not. This is why we are this is why we're so mad. And when we talk about mental health in the case of Sister Naomi, if ever there is a group of people who should be out of their damn minds, it is us as Black folks. This is the shit. See, you all seeing this one day.
We've been seeing
this shit every day of our lives.
That's
and when we try to expose that to you, you now want to poo-poo it away. Well,
I want to read a statement from I want to read a statement from the Village of Caledonia Police Department. They put this out on Saturday night at about 9:13 p.m. in response to the video. They are saying that the driver and rear passengers were later removed from the vehicle. The subsequent search of one of the rear passengers produced an empty corner of plastic baggie from a passenger's pocket. The empty corner tear did not contain any illegal substance. However, this type of packaging is a common method for holding illegal drugs. The empty corner tear was turned over by the searching officer to another officer who was on the scene. That officer turned it over to the officer who was seen on the video. Since there were no drugs in the corner tear, the officer discarded the empty packaging material in the vehicle. That this is what was observed in the video. So here's the thing, the statement. Here's why you can't believe statements as released by the police department, because the video came out July 24th. Within seconds, they put out this statement. Within moments, they put out this statement and decidedly took the position of endorsing the storyline of those officers without any investigation. And had they decided that they agreed that there was going to be drugs in that baggie, this story would have turned out completely differently. But because 6.7 million people saw it on Twitter, they decided, okay, magically, this package that they know is normally used to carry drugs is empty. That way they're able to get away and help this. I'm sorry. I know gaslighting when I see it. I know liars when I see them. And to me, this is just another example of how the police institution uses propagandas and lies, outright lies, in order to execute what they've been doing to black folks for so long. And like you said, Brother Mac, white folks are just now seeing it for themselves in this level of fashion.
And see, like we said, it's not only what we see. See, we saw Eric Garner, we saw Tamir Rice, we saw George Floyd. But what you now have to go back and look at the police reports, look at the narrative that they're putting out before these things become public. Ahmaud Arbery, how long? See, from the moment, if I'm a supervisor in law enforcement and I respect the law, the moment I see that one of my officers tossed anything, I don't care what it is, it could have been a tissue. The moment you tossed anything into someone's vehicle, at that point, to me, that's grounds for termination. I'm moving to the highest level of discipline I can against you. But again, go back to the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. How long had those officers had that? How long had the police had the videotape? And it was only because of what we see when cockroaches. See, as long as it's dark in the room, the cockroaches are out. But the moment you turn on the light, they start to scatter. This is what is happening when that video went viral. The light got turned on these cockroaches. That's what happened in the Rodney King situation. The light got turned on. This is what happened with the George Floyd situation, except the light was on the very moment that this cockroach was doing what he was doing. But this is why we must. And this is why technology has been so wonderful in helping us, because see, again, white America, you're getting a chance to see what is daily for us.
Yeah.
Put it all together. It's amazing. You know, and I remember my professor, the late, great Dr. Jones, he said this to me. He said, Brother Mac, my son, as you are working in the area of civil rights and our community comes to you to tell you about their experience, and they appear hostile, they're angry, and it may appear that they're angry with you. They're not angry with you. They're just sick and tired of what is going on in America. So
that's right.
The best thing that you can do is to just be patient and understand the source of their anger, of our anger. Because if ever there is a group of people in this country who should have lost their ever-loving minds, it is us as a people. And I just applaud black folks for the strength. This is just, again, the strength that we have. But
how
again,
strong we got to be.
From a consciousness standpoint, anybody and everybody who looks at that example and every other example where it is so crystal clear to you and you can dismiss that, trust and believe you got some real issues. And we gonna help you to get straight, like it or not.
That's it. I got another video for you to see last week. Brother Mac, you called Tucker Carlson Tucky last week. And then all of a sudden I just saw it all over Twitter. People are talking about Tucker Carlson. Fox News host, I'm reading from Mediaite.com. Fox News host Tucker Carlson was confronted at a fly fishing shop in Montana by a man who pronounced him, quote, the worst human being known to mankind. The man in this video who confronts Tucker Carlson, his name is Dan Bailey, and he posted the video of himself on Instagram, calmly telling Tucker Carlson to his face, quote, you are the worst human being known to mankind. And this was in response to his COVID misinformation. Now, normally videos like this, I don't really get kicks off of people doing confrontations like this because they're normally, oftentimes they're scripted. However, when we're talking about a person who literally has blood on their hands because of the misinformation, the propaganda they're spreading around COVID-19, I am proud to bring you this clip of Dan Bailey telling Tucker Carlson that he is the worst human being known to mankind. The audio is difficult to hear, but you can definitely see the exchange was beautiful. Let's take a look at it.
Don't even get my I don't care, man. Dude, you are the worst human being known to mankind. I want you to know that what you have done to this state, to the United States, to everything else in this world. I don't care that your daughter's here. What you've done to people's families, what you have done to everybody else in this society. Son, don't call me son one.
Now, as far as confrontations go, that was mild, Brother Mac. That was a very pleasant, cordially, gentlemanly exchange, very quiet. But you can tell Tucker Carlson is not a person who's ever been used to being confronted about their BS in their life, because people who have ever been confronted about their BS definitely understand what time it is as soon as someone gets that close to their face. Brother Mac.
Easy to be a hero when you're protected behind that camera, behind the keyboard. Easy to be. But little Tucky, the brother is absolutely correct. Little Tucky is one of the worst humans. And the thing about it is, you got to understand, when that day comes, as you get older, and you're faced with your mortality, you're going to have to think back to what is it that you did for the advancement of humanity. And little Tucky, he's going to have to realize that he sold his soul for 30 dirty pieces of silver. So what the brother said to little Tucky, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. These are people who forget the oneness of humanity. Forget this kindness that we all want to bring to one another. This brother will continuously sell his soul for ratings to do what he needed to do. So absolutely. And when confronted with it, it's not like little Tucky can explain his behavior, because he knows that what he's pushing. And when you start talking about this thing with COVID, I'll say it again. Republicans don't want the vaccine. Republicans don't want the mask. But trust and believe that this new variant that is out,
come on,
you better reinstate that life-saving task. You better to do that.
But that's if they had any instinct for self-preservation and survival. They've dispensed with that instinct. I want to give a little more context. Go ahead.
But Brother Ben, I have to say this to you. See, you said if they had any ideas of self-preservation, I would bet a small fortune that little Tucky then took that vaccine.
Absolutely. He has.
Guarantee you.
He has. I put all the money on it. All the money on that one. Yeah. Here is Slate.com giving us a little bit more context of around Tucker Carlson, not this confrontation, but around the possibility that Fox News could be sued if its anti-vax statements caused people to die. And the leading voice on that has been Tucker Carlson. I just want to read this one paragraph and then we can move on. Night after night, Tucker Carlson has provided a platform for sowing fear and confusion amongst his viewers about the efficacy of the vaccine and its side effects. Although the network has recently sounded a more reasonable note, Fox News has started to support the vaccine. That turnabout has by no means been across the entire network, and it comes too late for an untold number of people who have been newly sickened or died from the disease and who might have been saved through immunization. There may actually be some legal remedy, though, for the damage wrought by the network. COVID victims who were taken in by Tucker Carlson's vaccination misinformation or their estates may be able to sue Fox News under the ancient common law theory of fraud. They would have a reasonably good chance of success. This is where we are in 2021. We have a major network that is a part of the 630,000 people who have died, and I think that's why this guy Dan confronted Tucker Carlson. What are some of your thoughts on this possible lawsuit and the complicit nature of Fox News with the number of people who have died from COVID-19?
Brother Ben, first and foremost, his name is Little Tucky. That's the way we need to refer to him, as Little Tucky. Now, in lawsuits, what do they call it? Punitive damages.
Yeah.
The punitive damages from a legal standpoint, and trust and believe, family, I'm no lawyer. I'm just playing one on the Dixon show, like it or not. Okay. But when a court awards punitive damages, it's because you knowingly did wrong. So in the face of all science, and there isn't but one piece of data that I think that we could all look at. And for those of you who are out there, just do your own cursory research and ask yourself this. Of all the people who have died of COVID, how many of those people were not vaccinated?
Yeah.
Or flip the script and say, of the people who have died, how many were fully vaccinated? I believe that you're going to find a stat that puts you up in the high 90% of people who have died from COVID were not vaccinated. It is a very small percentage of those who have died who have been fully vaccinated.
That's right.
Men lie, women lie. Numbers, they don't lie. And Little Tucky, try to explain that particular stat to us. Go and put your research committee together and just take a look at all the people who have died from COVID-19. What percentage of those people were fully vaccinated? And that's why he's vaccinated.
That's why he's vaccinated. That's why he's sitting there in that video with his little, trademarked Tucker confused look. And that's why he had no issue getting face to face with this guy, because Tucky knew that he was vaccinated.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And there is a subsequent well, actually, I don't even know if I want to bring Candace Owens is really quick to come and go to the rescue of these poor white men who are so attacked by America. She went to Twitter basically pointing out that if liberals were really afraid of COVID-19, they wouldn't have been face to face in this confrontation. Listen, that's got nothing to do with this the fact of the matter is somebody needs to hold Tucker Carlson and Fox News accountable. Somebody has to. And I hope this brother Dan, I hope he was vaccinated, getting that close to anyone in the pandemic. But at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that Fox News is complicit. Conservatism, Republican thought, Donald Trump, all of this institution, there's too many people in this country, Brother Mac, who are absolutely okay with the number of people who have died so far. In fact, they're so okay with it, they still don't want us to put on masks, and they still don't want to encourage vaccinations, and they are getting people killed. And I do hope that the survivors and the families of those who died from COVID-19 will look at the data and see how Fox News contributed to the death and carnage that we have experienced over the last year and a half. Brother Mac, I want you to get the last word on this one before we take a break and come back with Like It or Not.
Well, Brother Ben, now that you brought up her name, she is no longer Candace Owens, but she is Karen Owens.
Oh,
and Karen Owens does have reservations at the Kunta Hotel.
There it is. I love it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Rebecca Azor, Like It or Not. We're also going to be joined by State Senator Shevrin Jones from the state of Florida. We're going to discuss COVID-19 and the change in tone by Governor Ron DeSantis.
Hey.
I think they finally get the idea that they could be held accountable for all of their misleadership. But already 630,000 people have died. Shevrin Jones State Senator Shevrin Jones from the state of Florida. He's going to be joining us to discuss that. Rebecca Zor is going to join us. More Benjamin Dixon Show, Like It or Not, coming up after this quick break. We'll be right back.
never switch sides. Like, even when I die, I'ma ride for the squad. Let our ties in the hearse. I've been on a vibe, kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I'm never so packed for the stack, never lied on the rap. Got a bag from the way that I write it. Queen looking Tyson, through that I survived, doing 80 to the house. Then I hit it to the sky, change haters on a tirade. Talking to they grip in the face, be still, let that hate stuff fade. We all want the same, we all want a meal in the safe. I wanna live like I'm trying to reach enlightenment. Trail spill from my lips, feel bent from the bib. Take a sip till I pass out. Try and get grit, but it don't make sense. Cause you can lose life on this fast route. Yeah, turn thoughts to a cash cow. I might flip that to the glass house. I don't need the accolades, I'm in love with the chase. I just wanna eat, save a spot at the table. Beast with the slap, pin myself on the map. You long with the wind, but we knowing that it's cap. 5-hour flights, couple nights at the flat. To be real, couldn't see me making moves while I'm at. I'm still on the grind, limit time when I chat. I'm burning down sage, keep the demons away. When I write it, give a piece of myself to the page. I don't do it for the praise, love, that's just how I'm made.
Truth in the glass in the mirror.
Yeah.
Do it at me, old man, tryna pass in the fear. You're the first one to talk, but the last one to hear. Eyes blurry, but I couldn't see that, and he cleared down. Start to feel like I'm on one. Settle in, I'll be here for the long run. I'm a slave for the cash, got snakes in the grass, no brakes on the ad, but it's all fun. We done seen it all, heard it all. Heard enough, give me space before I murder y'all. 10 bad here, I'ma curve them all. 12 missed calls, and I still made a curtain call. Here to light it up, lighten up. Hear him talking, they ain't right enough, tighten up. Everything that I came for, I left with. I don't bang sets, I just bang on the set list. Going past supper when I came for the breakfast. Put me in your prayers, I might put you on the guest list. Young to me reckless, gold in my soul, got the same on my necklace. Light it up, light it up. Play and teach you something. Got my stones on Himalaya. No, I'm out your sucker ducking. Ain't no need for that discussion. Bluffing with the game. About to build a couple million. Came with nothing but my name. I'ma twist it, flip it, stick it like a bop it. Tell them stop it. All them haters out of pocket. Let me plug it like a socket, baby. Big on the stair, what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Topped out, I'm cool on the chick check. With the kid, know I got the gift paid. Big on the stair, what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Topped out, I'm cool on the chick check. With the kid, know I got the gift paid.
Wave, tell me, can you slide for a real one?
Slide for me, slide for me.
Can you slide for a real one?
Can you slide for me, slide for me.
Can you slide for a real one?
All right.
Can you slide for baby, say I'm making nervous. Maybe cause I'm real on the surface. Maybe
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals. Welcome back. I want to shift gears a little bit here. Brother Mac, we talked about in the last segment about the impact of Donald Trump on COVID-19. He had an event over the weekend that I want us to take a minute and kind of discuss. But I also want to talk not in context of just responding to what he said, but honestly talking about how to a greater or lesser extent, we see regularly, we see the embrace and the foolish embrace of the highest level of stupidity. Have you just, before I even play these clips, Bro Mac, have you ever just taken a step back and just thought about how utterly absurd all of this is? And when I say all of this, I mean not the police, the United States Senate, the Congress, the institution of the presidency, not in the sense that the institutions are, but where we are with the people who are leading us is such a level of absurdity. Like, I honestly pause and think we literally have to be in the worst timeline imaginable for us to not only have come through 4 years of Donald Trump's stupidity, but to end it with this pandemic and 400,000 people died before he left office, but still that's not enough stupidity for them. Have you just ever really taken a step back and said the absurdity of all this stuff that we see on a daily basis?
From today's perspective, no, because this is very much commonplace when one studies our history. You have to imagine, you have to know this. You don't have to imagine this, but this is what scholarship will tell you, that the overwhelming majority of slave owners in this country were the wealthy. But the way that they indoctrinated poor whites was to say to them, you must support our ideology, because you have to always remember, you may not have the wealth we have, but you better remember and always remember, but you're better than them. And so they sold them on that, even though they, through their capitalistic society, didn't care anything about poor whites, but they had to make them feel that they were better than us. And so through history, whenever Black folk began to progress in this nation, you see these things happening. The end of the Civil War in 1865, right? Slavery is now abolished December 6th, 1865. So the war ends April 9th, 1865. Slavery is abolished via the 13th Amendment on December 6th, 1865. December 6th, 1865. December 24th, the South loses. What does Nathan Forrest do? He and 5 others go down to Pulaski, Tennessee on December 24th, 1865, and form this little group called the KKK. So whenever Black folks begin to progress in this country, you see this backlash. All of the gains that we got during the 50s and 60s of the modern day civil rights movement. Now, all of a sudden, they bring in their new president, Reagan, to roll back those things.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we elect the first Black president. America is so full of themselves and so angry that they would take an idiot like -45 Trump, who has spoken ill even against one of their own, the late John McCain.
That's right.
To say that now, because you got captured, you were a coward, when this fool was a draft dodger at best.
Yeah.
See, this is the way America always reacts when we begin to make progress. And so what we have to do is learn from the past. Don't take your foot off the gas like we did when all of a sudden we started getting those civil rights victories, where we can now get the vote. We start rolling back housing covenants, start ending segregation. We thought we have arrived. Family, always remember, we have never arrived in this country. We must continuously push forward. So to answer your question directly, none of this surprises me. This is what history has repeatedly shown. Is that whenever we begin to make that progress, they're going to double down. They're going to spin their narratives. That's why the Republicans, they fund these think tanks so that they can begin to create their narrative and then push that narrative out. And as long as they keep pushing it, think about what Trump told you, what -45 told you, that he could commit any crime in the middle of Times Square
and get away with it.
As long as he tells you, I didn't do it, they want to believe. Why? Because they know that if we believe This becomes our savior against equality, against Black folks, against progress. This becomes our savior for white power. No, I'm not surprised. History won't allow me to be.
Brother Mac, I was waiting for you to say like it or not, and I was going to tell David to drop the intro for like it or not.
Well, look, not only should I say it, but I will take it from the show, from the host of the show. So with that said,
like it or not. Run it, David.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, I'm not GJ exclusive, so I can't do it as good as James Bubba Williams, who is out today. But good morning, good morning, good morning, and
good
welcome.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning. You got. Hey, Dr. Mac, you got to give it a little more. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. You know what that? Like the TD. That's
the Bubba Jakes. The Bubba Jakes.
Yes, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing this morning. How are you guys this morning? You guys have been having.
I was a Sunday school dropout, so I wouldn't know much about
so
that.
You wouldn't know much. I mean, the good mornings are usually a pretty universal, but something about the way TD Jakes did it that went even to probably the Church of the Satanists. It's really.
You said it had cut through. It had cut through.
Very universal. It's just that good morning that just makes you feel like, hey, good morning.
You. Oh, wait a minute. You mixing up. Because I never heard TD Jakes say good morning. I always heard him say, get ready, get ready, get ready. Right.
Yes.
And then
you're right. It's Bubba who does good morning.
It's Bubba Jakes.
It's TD Jakes that says, get ready, get ready, get ready. And TD Jakes made everyone feel like they needed to get ready for something. No matter what you believed in, you had to get ready for something. And that's Bubba for us, who makes us want to say good morning right back. Who we missed this morning, and with your help, we were actually able to do what we needed to do. Okay, so thank you to you guys. Bubba got his MacBook, but he's getting it together so that we can utilize, so that we can have him.
He didn't realize those updates were going to take them MacBook updates take a good hour, 2 hours.
Now, since we brought up the religious piece of it, I got to go ahead and give you your little Black History moment for the day.
Okay.
So, given that I'm 59 now, and my eyes ain't working like
you're not 21 because you're giving young and fun. That's what you give.
Normally I'd be like, go on, girl, thank you, but I know I'm an old man and I'm expecting it. But anyway, your Black History note of the day from a religious standpoint. It was on this day in 1865 that Patrick Francis Healy became the first Black Jesuit. He was also the first Black to receive a PhD and the first Black to be named president of Georgetown University.
Oh, wow.
Or not.
Oh, wow. What year was he named president of Georgetown?
Let me.
That is some serious. I did not know that story.
1873.
Wow.
And he served president from 1873 to 1882.
Wow. That's a precarious time to be a Black person in charge of somebody's institution of higher learning.
Well, now, if you put it like that, you have to remember now, his father was a white man who had relations with an enslaved woman. They tried to get married down in Georgia. Georgia wasn't recognizing marriage between a white person and a Black person. Right? And so not only was he famous, but also his brother was also famous because his brother became the first Roman Catholic bishop. But because we got into the whole church thing with TD Jakes, I just wanted to drop that little Black History note, like it or not.
Well, I have
in the 1800s, and we still had stuff just less than 50 years ago that were similar to that, where people couldn't even acknowledge the relationship between a Black person and a white person. So dang, that thing, it's been forever. I mean, is anything like the changes have been minute, but they've been changes. But I'm saying like the people expect us to be like, get over things that like, like get over racism, get over all. No, this is our whole entire life that we've been dealing with this. I mean, people can't even be together because they Black. One is Black and one is white. I mean, I love Black love, but let people love who they gonna love. I mean, at the end of the day.
Well, Queen, this is the thing that we gotta to make sure America understands when they ask us to get over race. Just imagine we're sitting at the card table. The whole deck of cards that they're dealing, all race. So how you want me to get over race when you created an entire deck
Exactly.
that was based on race.
That's a
Like
fact.
it or not.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Well, I got a clip. Since I do have a bunch of clips of Trump, but since we are in the religious segment of today's episode, the Sunday school dropout segment, I want to play a clip from Right Wing Watch. We always pay attention to what's going on with Right Wing Watch because they are watching the evangelique, Rebecca, church, white conservatives who preach hate and anti-vax messages and messages that are getting people killed. That's what Right Wing Watch watches for us. And this clip is from a right-wing Christian apologist named Alex McFarland, who claims that he was told by a music director at an East Coast college that because of critical race theory, they can't use the phrase sheet music or require students to turn in their instruments. I know history is littered with stupidity, Brother Mac. This is next level stupid. Let's play the clip.
Guys, I had breakfast about 3 months ago with the head of a music department at a major East Coast university. And I want to protect this individual, but if I told you the name of it, everybody listening would know the name. This is a major state-supported school. The head of the music department is a born-again Christian. August of last year, when they had faculty orientation, the music department was told, you can't use the word sheet music, the score with the music. And we've always said, okay, we're going to perform this. Everybody get your sheet music. Don't say sheet music, because you know who wears sheets? Wow. KKK, white supremacists. So students feel threatened if you say sheet music.
Oh my God.
And don't, correction fluid, don't say whiteout. Because white is a bad word.
Yeah, that's insane.
What's
go
going
in the
on?
store and try to find
He
whiteout.
didn't say.
Little by little, it's been called correction fluid. One other thing, in this particular music department of this state-supported school, this earned PhD from Missouri State, but he's on the East Coast leading a department. They were told, don't tell your violinists they have to tune their instruments. And we have a tuning fork, A, 440 cycles per second. That's European. That's male patriarchy. So students, who are you to say you have to tune the instruments? Now, here's my point. We've lost our mind.
He's trying so hard not to laugh.
The host of the show is like, that's insane.
No, he's trying. He's like,
that's crazy.
He's inhaling his laugh so that he doesn't burst out laughing. So listen to this. There's a couple of things with that. I mean, so what? They think that white is a bad thing. Okay. What school is this? Yeah, sheet should be a bad word, right? This is how stupid. This is how dumb. This is how ignorant. This is how much focus they put on small things, right? Like this. But I want them to understand. You see how it feels like weird to be like, oh, white is a bad word. And, don't talk about sheets because who wears sheets, which is true. Like, but you guys made it seem like black was such a bad thing. And even now in Texas with the critical race theory situation happening where you guys are saying in your books, and you guys are making legislations that are saying, hey, the KKK wasn't really a hate group. So let's teach it in history, but let's not teach critical knowledge that talks about black history, but that does put your white ancestors in a place where we can look at them as bad people, in that particular time. They're like, no, we can't show that stuff though. And then we can't talk about what recently happened at the Capitol as something being bad either, even though that was this year, 2021, January 6th. We can't do that. But what we can do is start looking at KKK and that hate organization, the people who wore sheets. And what we can do with them is show you that they were just another organization, a group, like the Black Panthers. They were similar, right? Yeah. That's what they want us to believe. That's what they want us to understand. So when I hear this, it is funny, it is stupid, and it shows us how these people will literally make something like even the host was laughing at it because the man was speaking with a seriousness in his voice, like, hey, this is what they're doing at the school. When we have to fight back against it, this is ridiculous. But what about child famine around the area? Have you guys been looking at that? Have you been looking at the poverty in the area? Have you been looking at the students who are not allowed to go there or who have been going there? Have you been looking at the conditions of your environment as it comes to COVID? You know, what are the, you know, precautions that you guys have been taking there? Like, you know, all of that to me is a bigger issue than you guys worrying about the word sheet and all of that. But it does come to mind. It makes me laugh and be like, you know, how does it feel when you guys are on the other spectrum of it? And yours, for your skin color, it's considered, just because you are this skin color, it's synonymous with something bad. You know, so how does it feel? How does it feel?
Same girl. I got a different take on that. First and foremost, I believe that the guy absolutely made this up, because what is the end game here? No, nobody is going to say sheet music reminds you of the KKK. That's
nobody.
You sure?
I'm absolutely sure about that. Now, because there's enough, you know, it's like this. Let's go back into our own history. Many of us still want to believe that the Willie Lynch letter was authentic. There's no proof of the authenticity of the Willie Lynch letter. However, the contents of the letter certainly can be made to be, you know, can be thought to be true. But was there an actual letter written by a man named Willie Lynch? No, there was not. There is no historical evidence of that. But that was something that we used as propaganda. This story that this guy is saying is simply propaganda to attack, because the end game is to create fear against critical race theory. So let me make up some absurd story about sheet music. It's absurd. So we shouldn't even be arguing whether or not sheet relates to the Klan. I mean, that's a given. But now to say sheet music relates to the Klan, relates to music? BS. That's don't get thrown off. The game is chess, not checkers.
They one thing I have picked up out of all this, Rebecca, actually, like I like your question.
I guarantee you that he could. The only reason he didn't name the name of the person, because that person would come out and say, absolutely, that was a lie. Absolutely, it never happened. This is the propaganda that he is using to create this animosity and this negative thought process behind critical race theory. This is absurd.
And here's the extent of the absurdity. One, Rebecca, I did love the phrasing of the question in terms of like, if y'all really want to be oppressed white folks, we can show you what you did to us, like for real, like where your very skin color, the existence of your skin color is anathema and a crime, because that's what y'all did. So if you want to be afraid of sheets, that's fine. We can make that happen. But here's what I'm seeing happening. They have mastered, they being conservatives, Republicans, evangelicals, all of them, they have mastered the art of framing the conversation in a way that controls the political outcome that they want. Follow me on this real quick, and I want to hear both of y'all thoughts on this. I think that they are not afraid of us teaching their kids critical race theory. I think they are fearful of us teaching our kids of critical race theory, and they understand that the way to get us off of our Black history in general, critical race history theory rather specifically, is by making it the boogeyman that everyone tries to, oh no, we're not afraid, you know, we're not trying to teach your kid. I don't care if we teach your white kids Black history or critical race theory. That's fine. Brother Mac, I want us to teach our kids that critical race theory, because we're the ones who need to understand the games that are structured around us every single day. I want to hear both of y'all thoughts on that.
So I'll say, to start with, you know, I hear you, Dr. Mack, I really do. But the stupidity time and time again that, you know, these folks have shown, not only in the education system where they want to, which is a systemic thing, they'll make up a lot of stuff and let it just be, right? And that's how we got to the education that we have now. And then, you know, with lawmakers and everything like that, they'll support stupidity. We got people who are walking in the media world who represent the voices of their constituents, or give the Kool-Aid to their constituents or their viewers or their supporters to literally drink and follow the lies, literally. And so this person to me could very well be just an example of what we see time and time again. We talk about this here on the show a lot. Stupidity. Dumb things come out of these folks' mouth. They just fall out, you know, like they teeth. and people support it. People constantly support it. So when this man was speaking, I mean, he could literally, it could be a lie. It could be something that he actually believes. And a lot of the times they'll say these things so much and they will believe it themselves. And they will have a whole team of people, a whole background of supporters to support that. And they'll fight that very thing. I believe that's how we got to the whole critical race theory conversation. It was not even a thing at one point in time. Now I ain't never heard so many people say critical race theory in my life, just because people were bothered that we wanted to add actual truth to history for y'all little white kids to learn and understand what actually happened in America, what America actually was built off of, and that was on the backs of Black slaves. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I really wouldn't push it past this man. He could be lying, and he could actually be believing something, or following this agenda, like you said. It is still propaganda either way. These people will sit here and push a lie or push something that was whispered in their ear by somebody else to make it seem true. And I believe all of this right here comes from the conversation that we've been having for the last few months, or for this majority of this year, and that's critical race theory. Everybody is shaken up, and they're creating BS like this. They're creating BS like this.
So Ben, if I'm not mistaken, you said that this guy was supposedly a man of the cloth, correct?
Yeah. He is associated with a religious organization. I don't know exactly the specific one, but yes.
Not a problem. But
you said a man of the cloth? Is that what we call him, the KKK?
Well,
no, ministers. That's what we call ministers.
Oh,
you thinking about them damn sheep?
Man of the sheep. You see?
Okay. And so, with that being said, so let me tell you where I being back to your analogy of what's important in teaching our history. Let's call it critical race theory. Here's an example. In this clip that you've shown us, this is what I come away with. It's not the sheets that we should be afraid of. We know who they are. We know what they're about. As long as you are looking for the sheets, you miss the real enemy, the ones that are dressed in the suits. That's who we should be afraid of. In this case, don't be afraid of the teacher. Be afraid, in this case, of the preacher.
Yeah.
That's critical race theory. Keep your eyes on the real game, because the game, family, is not checkers, it's chess. Because I'll say it again, one of the biggest impediments against progress are the so-called liberal whites. One of the biggest impediments against progress is this conservatism that is wrapped in suits, not dressed in sheets. That's what's critical about understanding the experience of us in this country, like it or not.
Well, all right. I dig it. Let's I want to play a couple more clips. We're going to be joined by state senator. He was state representative, but now he's state senator and FAMU graduate, but that's okay. We'll forgive him for that much. Shevrin Jones, he will be joining us momentarily to discuss Governor DeSantis and what's happening in the state of Florida with the uptick in COVID cases. Of course, this is happening across the country, but from time to time, we like to talk to state representatives, even those who graduated from FAMU. But in the meantime, Rebecca, while we wait on Shevrin,
I'm staying silent this morning. I'm in my zen. I got my mama's hat on. I'm just feeling,
that's your mama's hat. That's a fly hat.
That's my mama's hat, and
I'm
just and I'm just gonna let you do what it do. I'm Haitian, so I'm gonna let my ancestors do what they do.
Okay, we're gonna do a real clip. I want to run this clip. This is a clip from this morning on Fox and Friends, and they are starting to peddle this idea that the uptick that we're seeing in violent crime. Now, everyone knows as soon as the pandemic started going down a little, it was almost like, y'all remember all the mass shootings that happened as soon as people started coming out from the pandemic. The grocery store, I believe in Colorado, if I'm remembering this, but there's just so many. The ATL spa shooting right here in Atlanta. The mass shootings started occurring even before the second wave of the pandemic was over. As soon as people got out of the house, white folks particularly, white men particularly, they went on their shooting sprees. Fox News has a way of framing this that serves their purposes without pointing the finger to white men. And without pointing the finger towards guns. Here's Fox News this morning talking about the uptick in violence has been because people smoke too much weed. Take a look.
Walk out on the streets of New York City. You said it smelled like
urine and pot.
Okay.
Not a great morning show image, but it's true.
Right. But the pot part is particularly important because after the shooting in Washington, D.C. on Thursday night, on Friday, the chief cop in Washington, D.C. made a connection that too few leaders in Democratic-run towns are doing, and that is he finds a direct connection between the violence and pot usage. Here's Robert Conti.
We have taken on a mindset that marijuana is not really a big issue in our city. I can tell you that marijuana undoubtedly is connected to violent crimes that we're seeing in our communities. When you have something where people get high reward, they can make a lot of money by selling illegal marijuana, and the risk is low, the risk for accountability is very low, that creates a very, 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 very bad situation because those individuals get robbed, those individuals get shot at, those individuals get involved in disputes all across our city. I'm seeing it happen more and more.
And he's not alone. In other cities, they're doing it as well. But what are they going to do? It's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. They've legalized pot in a bunch of places, and now they've seen violent crime spike. They're going to say, you know what? We made a mistake.
All right, I want to cut them off here because you know where they're going with this. And our guest, Shevrin, State Senator Shevrin Jones, is here with us. Just real quick, Rebecca and Dr. Mack, real quick responses to not only Fox News, because in this segment that you're listening to, we're not listening to, but they're going on and on and on about how weed causes violence. Okay, whatever. But then there was also the black police chief who said the same thing in terms of selling marijuana when we have not had a single moment in this country for us to look at the direct connection between guns, the obsession with guns, and the obsession of white supremacy, and how it's none of those things that are causing the uptick in violence. It's black folks smoking weed. Dr. Matt.
Well, I'd say this. Go back to the Prohibition era, right? What happened when alcohol was illegal? White folks found a way to bootleg, sell it. And now if you want to talk about drugs, let's assume that we look at alcohol as a drug. We look at weed as a drug. You tell me how most crimes are committed. Are they committed because people are high, or are most crimes committed because folks are drunk? I just watched a tape the other day in New York City where this man driving his car absolutely drunk, came around a corner doing 50 miles an hour in a street, hit a car, and ultimately ran over a mother and their child. Man, drunk off of his rocker. So if you want to start talking about crimes and drugs, go look at the crimes that are committed when folks are drunk versus those who are quote unquote high. This again becomes part of the narrative that they want to spin, and they'll tell that story long enough so that folks now are tied to that.
Yeah. And, shouts out to our other Dr. Carl Mack, who definitely will have a field day with this particular conversation.
The other one is Hart. Yeah.
I be getting them mixed up too. Not only you, Ben, but it's all right. We know the difference. But two light-skinned brothers though. But Dr. Carl Hart, he would have a field day with this particular conversation because he understands the abuse of drugs, right? He understands what not abusing drugs looks like. But in this particular conversation, this is where it's a stupid thing. Listen. First of all, yellow tie guy, I forget his name, but he really knows everything that's being said is dumb. That's why he didn't say a thing in this particular segment. But
kill me. Yeah.
Green tie guy, don't know his name, see him often. But this one right here is making the argument that the streets or saying, what did you say it was? And she's like, the street smelled like urine and pot. And he said the most important part of that is that it smelled like pot. Because what he's still doing is pushing the narrative that marijuana is something that is so wrong and it's illegal. Yet I'm pretty sure his counterparts have definitely tried it. His colleagues have definitely utilize it. Maybe something a little stronger that they're probably shooting up. I don't know. And they're abusing it. And they're the actual criminals. Like you said, some of them be drunk in these streets and getting in these streets and just killing folks, getting behind the wheel, things, all of that. But if you're talking about hitting the blunt or whatever that people are actually making a full business off of. Either it's for medical reasons or they're just selling weed. They're just selling weed, and these dispensaries have a whole storefront for it. Usually they're white people doing it, people that look like the people that are sitting here talking about the biggest issue being pot on the street. That is so dumb. I walk into New York, and no offense to New York, I lived there. And when I got off, thinking it was going to be so amazing, I got off that damn train and it smelled exactly like urine, cigarettes, the weed, Haitian food, on one street. It was all kinds of mixtures in the air. What am I going to say? I'm going to talk about it being, oh my God, it's just, this place is full of crime because it smells like that. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And he probably smells like dog. Am I going to say he's a dog because he smells like dog? Like it doesn't make any sense.
I'll put it this way, and Rebecca and Ben, figure this. There was an organization against that one drug, alcohol, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You hadn't seen such an organization crop up behind Mothers Against folks smoking weed, because that's not the narrative. That's not the issue. But again, if they can equate it, if they can equate anything to Black folk,
that's it.
They can do it. They're now going to try to punish you from it. The same way with the number of folks who are incarcerated because of weed versus those who were dealing with cocaine. The difference between punishment that was given out for cocaine versus that of crack. Anytime that they can pin anything against us, they're now going to make that narrative and weaponize it against us as a people. And this is yet another example of it.
Just another example. I want to bring into the conversation this morning State Senator from the state of Florida, Shevrin Jones. He has been on our show several times. Dynamic brother. Senator Jones, thanks so much for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, brother. How y'all doing?
Doing good. Glad that you could join us.
I see you and Rebecca. Y'all at it this morning, huh?
Yes. My fellow Florida A&M graduate. How are you, Mr. Shevrin? How are you?
It's so good to see you. I heard Ben talking that trash before I got here.
I was just waiting for you.
I didn't say nothing.
I literally to come up because Bubba is not here. Our DJ, who also went to that school that we shall not name, that actually just became a university on the corner in the middle of nowhere in Daytona. But we're not going to talk about that school. But what we're going to do is definitely let him know that today on this morning show, on this Monday morning show, this is a Rattler show on today. Okay?
That's right.
Listen, I might not have another Wildcat on the screen, but I got Brother Mac on the screen with me. So he didn't go to FAMU either. So
he said that he has connections. He has connections.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Woman, as you do too. As you do. So hey.
All right, we'll leave it alone. We'll leave it like that. We will leave that. We'll leave that for the classic week. I want to talk to you, State Senator Jones. I want to talk to you about your governor, who was never my governor, but I'm from Florida as well. So I take what's happening in Florida kind of seriously and very personally, because this pandemic has not been good to any state, but it certainly hasn't been good to the state of Florida. And I know you have been on the leading edge of these conversations, doing your covering it. And speaking out on behalf of the people and organizing, making sure people get vaccines. I want to play a clip really quickly from Governor DeSantis, and I want to get your thoughts on it, but I also want you to give us an update from your perspective as to how the state of Florida is handling COVID-19. David, run that clip for me. Okay, he's uploading it now. All right, so we're going to give him a chance to upload it. Shevrin, give me an idea of what you're seeing in Florida from the state Senate.
So what we're seeing right now in Florida is an uptick because of a couple of different reasons. It's happening because of the lack in rules that have been put in place or taken away from cities and municipalities in the state of Florida, because the governor made it clear that this state will not be locked down. So they put a lot of these measures in place to tie the hands of local governments, so local governments can't do what they should or need to do when it comes to this. So now what we're seeing is the state of Florida is leading in the number of cases of COVID-19. Over 73,000 people were booked and was booked by the Department of Health in being affected with COVID here within the state of Florida. That's vaccinated and unvaccinated. But what we are seeing is that the vaccinated are having flu symptoms and all these other things that are not as strong as what people are experiencing who are unvaccinated, which those people are in the hospital on ventilators, in ICU units. Some of them are even dying. So, this is what we're dealing with. And now, on top of all of this, we have the governor's double talking, right? Because he's encouraging people to get vaccinated, but in the same breath, he's also telling people that we're not going to go in lockdown and allowing the state of Florida to just be a free fall. So he has to pick one. Either you want public safety or you don't.
Let's take a look at we got the clip. Let's take a look at that clip, David, of Governor DeSantis.
If you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, the chance of you getting seriously ill or dying from COVID is effectively zero. If you look at the people that are being admitted to hospitals, over 95% of them are either not fully vaccinated or not vaccinated at all. And so these vaccines are saving lives. They are reducing mortality.
This is a market turn in terms of how DeSantis is talking, Senator Jones.
Yeah, well, what's happening is when you start seeing that your base is the ones who are dying at an alarming rate because of your lackluster leadership, you have to change your tune in what you're saying. And so right now, what we're seeing is that a lot of Republican counties in the state of Florida are the largest counties of the most unvaccinated people. And many of those hospitals are at capacity and cannot take any more people. I mean, I just heard that there are some counties where they're driving people to a different county hospital in order to put these people, get these people well. And so right now, I mean, there's no one to blame on this than my Republican colleagues who in last session did everything they can to discredit vaccinations, to discredit COVID, to open up the state of Florida, and to allow what we're seeing right now to take place. Yeah, this is just a result of all of that. And so now they're trying to clean it up. And listen, at the end of the day, we're going to have to figure out what is the best way to do this, because truth be told, it's not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a public safety issue within the state of Florida with 22 million people. And mind you, we have all these concerts who are coming here because a lot of these people who are coming here, those are the ones who are either got to go back home to their mother, their father, their grandmother, but we're bringing that stuff here to the state of Florida. So we have a serious problem that's happening right now.
Wow. Rebecca, I want you, and then Brother Mac, I want you guys to join the conversation because Rebecca, we all know you're from Florida, but also your family's currently in Florida. Like they're putting lives in danger, and I'm glad to hear Governor DeSantis make this turn, but I wish he would have made this turn last year, Rebecca.
Yes. Not only am I from Florida, I'm also a Florida A&M Rattler. But no, hearing Governor DeSantis after all of this time change his mind, it is a breath of fresh air, because him doing this is going to save a lot of people's lives. A lot of people go by what he says is Bible. He is their leader. And I mean, right now, we don't have time to be like, he should have been like this. And I feel the same way you do. I mean, if he was like this a while back, there could have been a lot more lives saved. I remember when a certain area didn't have access to getting the vaccine. And I remember his response to like them having to travel to a certain place or something it was at that particular time was so disrespectful. It was just, he did not do well at all. Him, along with a lot more leaders, especially in our area in the South, did not do a good job with handling COVID-19, especially in the beginning when we started to know that vaccines were going to be available, who was going to be able to have access to it. Was it free? Was it like they were not good at giving any information at that time. And now they want to encourage people. I don't know why the turn of events were in his head. I don't know why people, not only has it been DeSantis that we've seen, I forgot who it was that we just saw recently speak in a different manner as well. I don't know who's spoken to them or why they feel the way they feel. Have they been in a brush with death themselves? Have they lost a family member? I don't know what has caused them to change their mind, but I'm happy that they did because they're changing their mind and they're helping change the narrative. I don't care about what caused it, but this can possibly save a lot of people's lives.
Let me tell you something. The Republicans, their impetus around a lot of things that they do comes from polling. So when they poll and where they see where their base is at, that's when they'll start changing their tune on things, and they double down on it. Look how they double down on the critical race theory. That came from a poll that they've seen, and when President Trump made his comments then. And so you look at what's happening now. They put a poll out. They want to know where their people are. When family members start dying and things like that, it goes directly in a totally different direction, especially when these people are like, yo, wait a minute, man, you're messing up my business. If we got to go back in lockdown because these numbers are getting this way, it becomes a real issue, right? And so now they're looking at their money and they're looking at their base.
Makes sense.
Senator Jones, I think what I'm hearing you say is that if you're standing in the tunnel, that light that you see, it ain't daylight. That's a train coming right at you.
It's a train coming at you. That's right.
And so, based on the science of it all and the numbers, it's not surprising that what you're saying to us is that this uptick is happening in primarily Republican areas where people refuse to wear the mask, they refuse to be vaccinated. And so again, you have to understand, this governor, quote unquote, changing his mind, there's no doubt he's going to change his mind. We watched Trump with -45 when COVID first hit, how he just nonchalantly addressed the issue. And again, we saw hundreds of thousands of lives being lost as a result of that. So now when you look at these areas and people have fed into this narrative from not only Trump, but from Fox News, from Republicans all over this country, that you don't need to be vaccinated. You don't need to wear the mask. Well, check this out, family. If you don't change your behavior, sooner rather than later, you're going to meet the Savior. This is just
Senator Shevrin, before you comment on that, it actually is spreading. What you said is true. Like, they do respond to polling, because now the governor of Alabama, she's coming. And listen, I'm not going to knock them. At this point, if y'all going to help save some lives, I'm down with it. Let's take a look at this first clip from the governor of Alabama changing her tune.
County officials here today didn't put out a mask mandate, but they strongly encourage people in certain situations to wear face coverings. Do you have any plans to issue any kind of mask mandate or any other safety measures?
Let's be crystal clear about this issue. And media, I want you to start reporting the facts. The new cases in COVID are because of unvaccinated folks. Almost 100% of the new hospitalizations are with unvaccinated folks. And the deaths are certainly occurring with unvaccinated folks, self-inflicted pain. We've got to get folks to take the shot. The vaccine is the greatest weapon we have to fight COVID. There's no question about that. I've taken the shot back in December, both shots. The unvaccinated is who we need to focus on. Y'all get them to start taking the shot. It's their job to take care of themselves and us as well. We can't do that for them. All we can do is everybody take the shot themselves.
All right, notwithstanding the fact that that's my first time hearing her voice. She sounds like she's straight from the bayou.
Real slave master.
She sounds like she's straight from the bayou, like straight from
giving me slave master. It's giving. I don't know. Let's go ahead and I want to play that second clip. I want to hear that one.
Run the second clip real quick, David.
What would it take for you to mask mandate?
I want folks to get vaccinated. That's the cure. That prevents everything. Why we want to mess around with just temporary stuff? We don't need to encourage people to just go halfway. You know what it takes to get it done is to get a shot in your arm.
Senator Jones, what are your thoughts?
Listen, you won't hear me complaining about that and them encouraging people to get vaccinated. I'm going to take your sentiments. I wish this was the conversation we were having last May. Not as far as vaccination is concerned, at least encouraging people to wear masks. But when the vaccination came out, I wish that was the tune that they were speaking of. And people they can say whatever they want to say about President Biden and his administration right now. But the one thing you can't take away from him, and I was talking to one of my Republican colleagues, and he said it best himself. He said, what we can't take away from him is that he was able to clean up the mess that was made from, I like what Brother Max said, negative 45 when he was in office, and how they dealt with this public health crisis. Because truth be told, we were about to go into a total recession again because of the amount of businesses that were closed, the amount of people who were dying, the amount of people who were sick. And so, listen, if it's a public safety issue, also becomes an economic crisis, like we just saw, like we're trying to come out of.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this resonated with all of you, but the thing that jumped out to me, and again, the game is chess, not checkers. Look at the narrative that they're now trying to spin, and the narrative being is self-inflicted. See, the Republican Party and Trump, they all just spoke negatively about getting vaccinated. They spoke negatively about the mask. But now that the numbers are coming in, and again, believe what that great poet laureate Jay-Z told us, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So now that the numbers are coming in and they're seeing the number of deaths based on the narrative that they first put out, that the vaccine, you don't have to wear a vaccine. You're trying to tell us what to put in our body. You're trying to mandate masks. Now that they see that high death toll of numbers based on their narrative, they're now beginning to spin it by saying it's self-inflicted. No, this ain't self-inflicted. This is what I believed you when I was watching Fox News. I believed you, Governor of Alabama. I believed you, Governor of Florida. You told me I ain't have to worry about it. Trump told me this was an Asian, this like the Asian flu. This ain't no different than the flu. Now that those deaths are coming in, because trust and believe, COVID and its new twin, that variant, they're undiscriminatory. You know, they don't care. They don't care about your race or your sex. They're coming to get you. But what we're beginning to hear, and I want us to listen very closely to all of them. I imagine if we go back and listen to the governor of Florida, you're going to hear this self-inflicted. You're doing this to yourself. That's the new narrative that they're spinning to take the blame away from what they did.
That's it.
Causing this type of misinformation about how deadly this disease, this virus was or is.
Senator Jones.
Yeah, well, and I can't, period. Listen, there's nothing to say. I mean, it's my hope is that, I mean, well, the biggest fight right now is that in Florida, we're about to go back into legislative session, which starts on January 11th. Committee week starts September 20th. And this is going to have to be something we deal with, not only just COVID. We're going to deal with Surfside. I know my Republican colleagues are going to deal with critical race theory. And so we're going to deal with all of this stuff that's coming up in this legislative session. But I hope that when we go back to Tallahassee in the next couple of weeks, that their main topic that we're going to deal with is going to be how we're going to deal with this public health crisis that we're in right now, with Florida leading the country in the most COVID cases.
But Senator Jones, I would ask that the moment they start that narrative about this being self-inflicted, that you and others stand up and say, no. In order to solve this problem, we first must understand, in order to come up with a solution, we first must understand how we got to this problem. And we got to this problem because this party was the party that was anti-vaccine, anti-mask. So please do not allow them to bring that narrative in about this being self-inflicted and people simply made the choice not to get the vaccine. No, they followed your lead. They followed their lead. So please, as they bring this up, every time one of your Republican colleagues brings this up, I am begging that you challenge the narrative of it being self-inflicted.
You got it. Listen, you got me all worked up. I'm about to send my talking points to you to approve before my staff put it on my desk.
Oh man. Let's Senator Jones, while we still have you, let's shift gears for one last second. And Rebecca, just let me know. I do want to ask I want to ask a quick question. And Brother Mac, we've been talking about this for some time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that's how we met each other, talking about Juneteenth and Juneteenth across the country. But there has been a battle in Florida for what day will be celebrated by the state of Florida officially for the liberation of Black people, the emancipation of Black people in the state of Florida. Brother Matt.
And so, Senator Jones, listen, it is clear that, from history, June 19th, 1865 those were not the last Blacks enslaved. And as it applies to the state of Florida, there's a sister there, Commissioner Cox, Sister Barnes, Brother Lewis. There's a whole contingent of Floridians who have tried to get May 20th, 1865 recognized as Emancipation Day in Florida. Yet, some of your colleagues, and I need to know where you stood on this thing, some of your colleagues, I think Senator Randolph was one who tried to push, or not tried to push, but is pushing a narrative of Juneteenth down the throats of Floridians when it was May 20th, 1865, that should be recognized in the state of Florida as Emancipation Day because of what General McCook did. So I need to understand where you sit on that particular issue.
Well, you know what? I haven't Representative Senator Bracey, when he brought forth, I didn't know the particulars of it. I didn't know what the Emancipation Day, as far as the May 20th was concerned. I know that him and Representative Travaris McCurdy were working on the Juneteenth. Listen, whether May 20th, whether June 19th, I'm down to celebrate the freedom of Black folk all around, because whatever is going to bring us to a better realization of, one, that, you saw me as less as in this country, and let alone within the state of Florida, that we need to be recognizing. We need to recognize those things because it's a history lesson that a lot of our white counterparts don't know of. So
let me interrupt, Senator Jones. I'm sorry. Not only our white counterparts, but based on what those representatives that you just mentioned, based on what they're doing, we don't know the history either. And I think it's important. The reason why this is important to me and to sisters like Commissioner Cox and Sister Barnes and Brother Lewis is because by doing that, you're effectively discounting the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice that was made by Black Floridians in our emancipation. So if you don't know, as you just stated, I would advise you not only to hold your Republican colleagues accountable for the narrative behind self-inflicted with COVID, but I would ask that you meet with Tallahassee Commissioner Cox, Sister Barnes and Brother Lewis, and you understand that history too, so that now in Florida, it is important for us to get our history right. So if we want to talk about critical race theory, but then you want to say, well, it doesn't matter, I'll take any day. The hell with that, Senator, in all due respect. I want to put you on the hot seat, like it or not. That's what we're here for. And if we're going to say to white folks that it's important that we get our history right, well, damn it, it's important that we as Black folks get it right. Like that shit or not, Senator, I need you to get this right.
I hear you.
I need you to do that.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I also think that the biggest fight for me is not about a day on a calendar. The biggest fight that we're dealing.
Hang on. Let Brother Matt, let him finish his thought. I know, Brother Matt. I know
this is a subject for you.
I do want to hear. I want to hear Brother Senator Jones's response to that. Go ahead.
Listen, I get it, and I'm down with us recognizing the day on a calendar. I'm down for us doing all that.
Shit.
I'm here for it. But what I'm more interested in is how we make sure that we're putting laws to stop the killing of our Black men and boys on the street.
I tell you what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna go to a break. David, run the music for me. When we come back, we're gonna finish the conversation and expand it a little bit further. More like it or not, after this.
life so much better. Won't you let me stay here forever? Light up in the sky,
Swipe. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping
All right.
They do what I do, I'm like Simon Says.
We're getting ready to come back.
I'm like Simon Says. Swerving, making plays.
We're coming back in a few minutes to finish the conversation. Rebecca Zora is going to join us. State Senator Shevrin Jones is still here, and Brother Carl Mack. We are all still here. Adding everyone back to the. Y'all want to go get some breakfast in between?
I want to go eat some. I'm hungry. I get hungry in the morning. I want to go eat my lemon slices. See, in the morning I do wrong. You know, I'm trying to make sure I stay strong and nice. I want to go eat some lemon slices and some Oreo ice cream. I ain't got no business eating that in the morning, but God is still good because I drink my kombucha right after. I don't think that's good for my tummy, but it's all right. It's Monday morning. We gonna make it work.
We're gonna make it work. All right. Now I'm going right back. We just rearranging the screen. We're going right back into the conversation. Obviously, we just took a quick break. I want to frame the conversation, and we will navigate the conversation, and we'll finish it out. Because State Senator Shevrin, you got to get out of here. I know you do, but we're going to finish the conversation before I let you go, because I know your daddy. No, I'm joking. Here's the play. We have on this show a very deeply rooted connection to history and the accuracy of the history, and Brother Mack is our historian, and so the days are vitally important, not only to him but also to the show and also to the people, because of the meaning behind all of it. That said, that's all I'm gonna frame. I'm not gonna frame anything else. I leave you two gentlemen to continue the conversation. Brother
both of
Jones.
them
Brother
are muted.
I'm sorry. Let me unmute. Let me start with Brother Jones, because I want to start with the response that we were getting ready to get from you before we went to break to Brother Mack, and then Brother Mack jump in there.
No, listen. I have a great deal of respect for our history. I have a great deal of respect for the accuracy of our history, but I also believe that there's a lane for all of us to play in. Brother Mack as a historian, myself as a policymaker, bringing those two worlds together to be able to collide, to be able to create the accuracy and to create the policies that need to be created. For us to begin to progress as Black folk, right? Yeah, I read, so I want to know our history. I want to know my history, where I've come from, but I also know the struggles of our communities and what we're trying to do within the state of Florida. You know what I mean? And I believe that this is not something where we're trying to look at either or. This is a both and type of ordeal, to where we can deal with the history and we can deal with the injustices that are happening in this country that is trickling down into our state. So, I mean, it's not as if I don't care. My thing is, I mean, how can we work together from the policy aspect and from the history aspect of it all to get to the end, to where we know what we're doing. I mean, we know our history, and we know the fact that, I mean, there are other people fighting for the rights of Black folk.
Okay, so Senator Jones, you made it known that critical race theory was important, and that means studying our experience. So if that is important, you cannot say it's just another day on the calendar and I'm fighting for more important things because you're a policymaker. How can
that's not what I said.
No, family. You know, how could you now say to us that you're working on policy when you can't? And if it's that simple, that it's just another day on the calendar. If you can't get a day right, how can we expect and believe that you're going to get the policy right? If critical race theory is important, it is important for us to be able to tell our story correctly. And you all, as policymakers, the way that these two issues collide is because you got representatives in the state of Florida who are saying they are going to make policy that dismisses that of our Black ancestors in the state of Florida because it's just another day on the calendar.
No, that's not what I said, Brother Mac. What I made mention of, as far as what the fight is, the brothers down in South Miami, you think they care about the June 19th or May 20th? You think that the boy who's being arrested on the street is concerned about a day on the? That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying that I don't care about it, What I'm trying to say is, I mean, what type of changes that we can make within the state of Florida or across this country that can work simultaneously, along with the day on the calendar, but also working with things that can change right now. And so I'm not discrediting anything that you said, or I'm not discrediting the work that needs to be done. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of work that has to be done. And if I had to choose between whether or not I want to deal with the date of June 20th or June 19th or May 20th, or do I want to deal with whether or not how we can stop the killings that's happening in our communities, I think I'm going to take the latter more than anything.
Well, and I'm simply saying this. All those people that you named, the brother down in South Florida, the sister over there in Tampa, all of these people, see, they all share a common interest with most of white folks, is that they don't know the history. So that's why they don't care. I know for a fact that people who do know, who are being educated, cares. And through it all, through all of your ingenuity, through all of your genius, it is a simple fix to be able to understand the history of us in this country and to make that fix and then finish with what you got to do.
But you preaching to the choir, right? You preaching to the choir right now.
I think I'm preaching to somebody who is, see, your rhetoric is one thing, but your actions are something different. Because see,
I tell you what, I'll take it. I'm gonna take it there. Boom, and I'm gonna take it there. I'm gonna take it there because I know Shevrin, brother man.
Something though.
I know. Wait, no. Let me say so first. I know two good brothers on the screen when I see them. I know two brothers who have love and passion for black people when I see them. I know both brothers are working extremely hard when I see them. And we'll finish the conversation another time. Rebecca, get in there.
Yep. Finally. So I really think that both parties, like you said, have good takes. I agree with my brother from the Hill, the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee. I do agree with him in the sense where it's like, listen, if I have to choose, I'm going to choose basically to choose a day where it's like hitting something that celebrates Black people's history. But I also agree with our brother, our historian, Dr. Mack, because when I got on here, I had the same kind of pushback, and he was trying to say, Rebecca, did you know? And I'm like, hold on, who is this man? Who is this man trying to tell me that I know? But then I stepped back for a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? This is something I do need to understand. But I do understand it on both parts too. Right now, what Senator Jones is going with is kind of like saying, hey, if we work together with you and your passion about history, Brother Mac, and me, my passion about, creating legislations and things like that, we work together, we can make it happen. This will be what you highlight, and this will be what I highlight. But when we come together, we can make really good things happen. While you're teaching people about the history of these particular days, and I'm over here trying to do X, Y, and Z for this, it's all good. We're working in all these different sectors, and we're making something happen. So I do understand it. I do get it. I think that this conversation can definitely go further, but we need prepared notes on this upcoming time. I don't think Senator Jones was ready. He was like, "Wait, hold on now."
I'm gonna let the brother speak for himself because I know he's ready. And again, the framing I'm gonna leave this with because we're already at 10 o'clock, and Rebecca, we still have one more story to go. Brother Jones, Senator Jones.
I'll say it like this. My fight within the legislature for the past 10 years have been for Black folk. And that has been from the policies that I've created and the policies that I will continue to push within the state of Florida, because I know that we are we are a misnomer here within this state. And there are Black folk who are within the legislature who make deals on the back of Black folks, and I call them out because of it. I represent the largest Black district in the state of Florida, the third largest in the country. And so the last thing I'm going to do is to do anything that's going to discredit or hurt our Black folks. So therefore, that's why I made the comment that I made, that, and you said it perfectly, Rebecca, and that is that, Brother Matt, you and I could work together on the work. Even while you're educating people and I have the place in policy and beginning to merge those two worlds together, that's creative. Me coming on here to argue with you and fussing all that stuff, I'm not interested in all that. I'm like, how can we get the work done and to make sure that when it's all said and done, that it's uplifting our people, period.
Then Senator Jones, I would beg this of you. I need you to get in touch with Sister Diane Cox, who is a Tallahassee City Commissioner, and talk with her and her group about this. Because, if we want, on one hand, we're saying it's not an either or, it's an and. then this particular and is very simple to fix. And again, if you and your colleagues are going to be on the side of discussing critical race theory, that's talking about our history in this country. And there's so many of us, present company included, who obviously do not understand that history, and we are making mistakes that are embarrassing and insulting to our ancestors. That is the importance behind the critical race theory. So as a solution to you, I would ask that you speak to Sister Barnes and to Commissioner Diane Cox and others in the state of Florida who can educate you so that you can now bring this easy fix, and then we can join you in all the other policy issues that we too find important, but we also find this historical accuracy and respect for our ancestors to be important.
Senator Jones, get the last word before we get to break.
It's good to see all of y'all. I'm looking forward to us working together over the next couple of weeks as we go back to Tallahassee and what we got to do to bring our people up and continue rising. That's it.
I feel that. I think that we got to bring Dr. Carl Mack up to the hill and we'll have a good old time on the hill. Thank you so much, Senator Jones.
All right, y'all. Okay.
All right. Take care, brother. We'll catch you.
Bye.
All right, let's do a quick transition. Rebecca, I need to get your input on that story that because the story that we talked about the baggie that because you shared it with us as well. I want us to play the clip one more time because these are the things that we're facing on a regular basis in this country as Black people, and I want to hear what you have to say about that before we get out of here. David, run that clip of the police officer dropping that baggie in the backseat of that Black man's car.
Hey, bro, what's that?
What's what?
That you just threw in here.
What word?
I got you on camera, bro.
Got you on camera. We're all good.
Hey, bro, you just threw that in here.
Yeah.
And that was a quick video, but Rebecca.
It's a quick video. And this is from the perspective of the guy who, of course, is recording his stop, which we have to now do. Either you're recording yourself or somebody else on the outside is going to stop and record you, especially if you're a person of color, because this is the state of our country that we live in. It's very dangerous to get pulled over by a cop and not have it recorded because a lot of things could happen. Earlier this morning on the clock with Georgia Fort, you guys were discussing where a cop had actually taken the cell phone of someone who did record and deleted the recording. And she said, these are very important to make cases. You know, what if this was deleted and all of that man's freedom was in that recording? What if that happened? So in this particular case with this cop planting this bag, which we can see him throwing the bag into the car, and this is in the village of Caledonia. This happened on Wednesday. And so now the Caledonia police chief, Christopher Botch, has said to Facebook that the body cam video from the incident shows that the officers on scene had decided that the bag, which came from the car, had nothing in it and thrown back into the car. So now they're saying that the bag was actually taken from the car. So this is what the police department said. They said, while we just would discourage officers from discarding items into a citizen's vehicle, the video is clear that the officer is not planting evidence or doing anything illegal. Additionally, the empty corner tear is not itself illegal, Botch said in a statement on Facebook, and said that only a citation was issued a speeding citation was issued to the driver. So here's the thing. I think when this particular moment, when the guy didn't even know that even if something was pulled out of his vehicle, right? All he knew is that let me get this man on record because God knows what could happen. I am getting pulled over for whatever reason, but let me make sure I have this on record. And for whatever reason, this cop pulled him over for speeding, had the mind to go into his car and search for drugs. Search for drugs, not just say, hey, do you know how fast you were going? Give him a speeding or whatever and a citation and go. Or, ask him why he was going so fast if it was over the speed limit or whatever the case may be. But no, he had the mind to go because he was speeding. Let me go search his car for drugs. Picked out a baggie. So they say, picked out a little piece of debris from his car, checked it out. Clearly it was a piece of a bag, right? And checked it out, came back, threw it back in the car. Now, the driver didn't even know that this was taken out of his vehicle, if it was taken out of his vehicle. So all he saw was this police officer throwing this back in. And we already know the police system. As you guys were talking this morning on the clock with Georgia Ford, basically, like, we already know how it is. We know how police officers are. We know that this is very systemic. We know that what they've done to Black people. We know that there have been police officers who have planted things in vehicles time and time again, causing a lot of people not to see the light of day, just be in the prison, be in jail because of something that they did, right? Because of something that the officers did. So this guy being on high alert is very sad. But I'm glad that he was rolling the tape. When in the video, what I saw as well is the nervousness of the cop. When he was like, "Hey, what did you just throw into my vehicle?" And he was just like, but here's the defense of the of his force, of their unit, of their organization. The police department always comes to defense for them. Didn't even apologize and say that this was not protocol. They just said, "Hey, even though this is not protocol, he didn't do anything wrong." Hey, no, we are sorry. We are apologetic to the citizen for making him feel that he was being set up, because this is usually what happens, and we are sorry about that. That will never happen. It would always be brotherhood of the police department, which is always about self, and it's not for the people, it's for them. And that's what I see here. But all of this to say, it's so crazy that we got to record ourselves every single place we go, and we got to call out suspicious activity, because that suspicious activity is actually normal when it comes to people of color getting pulled over. So,
Rebecca, I wanted to get your take on that. We talked about it. That video, we talked about it at the 8:30 hour, but I wanted to talk about it again because that video has 7 million views, and it doesn't have 7 million views simply because it is a video. It is a video confirming what all of us have known so many times in our lives, how we're done as Black people, especially that what you said at the very beginning of it, or somewhere in the middle of it. You said they pulled him over for speeding. He was going 63 in a 45. Why didn't they just give him a ticket instead of using that as an opportunity to search for illegal drugs? They found none, and they almost had the opportunity, or they seized the opportunity to try to plant some. But it all started because instead of doing us like they would do someone else who was speeding, they knew that they wanted to enhance that to a drug search. And when they couldn't find any, this officer threw a little baggie in there, and he sure was nervous. And they backed off, said, "Oh, no. It was an empty baggie. We were just throwing trash away." It's so ridiculous. Go ahead, Dr. Matt.
Let's add this element to it. So I want you to imagine that we're in the infancy of the 3-strike law. And there was no technology. And that same situation played out. But now it's the driver's word against the cop's word. And now this becomes his 3rd strike. Exactly. So when you want to talk about critical race theory and how racism plays a part in the daily lives of folks in this country, that would have been a prime example had it not been for technology, as Sister Azura said. And you did not have that video footage of it. And that brother, for whatever reason, let's assume that would have been his 3rd strike. This brother could be doing time because a thug in his organization acted illegally in setting him up. And so, Sister Azura, the other thing I want to say is, when you said that they did not apologize, we are beyond the apology. Not only do we want the apology, but now we want to see accountability, because in a situation like this, we want to see that thug held accountable. He should absolutely be terminated for what he did to that brother.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it was honestly just the fear for me, because like I said, the police department came and said it was just a piece of debris that they pulled from the vehicle, and he just threw it back in there. But just that fear that the officer wanted to put into this young Black man, to me, really bugged me out. It's just like, if he would have found something, because you just automatically look at a Black man and believe that he has to have something in his pocket, something in his vehicle, something that could have made him been going 63 in the 45, something that he has to be under the influence, something. And I think that, to me, that's the issue. And you're right. We're beyond apologizing, but we never get that. And to me, honestly, when we recently got the whole conversation up, at least we got accountability in the George Floyd case. At least we got some kind of accountability here. That even bothered me because I'm like, accountability still isn't enough. So you're right. Even the little bit that we don't get, it's a big deal for us. And sometimes, most times, all the time, I do want these cops and these people to do the right thing. But we don't get that. Most times we get lost lives. If that man possibly wasn't recording and said, "Hey, what'd you throw in the back of my car?" And this police officer could have possibly said to him, "You don't speak to me.
Exactly.
You don't talk to me. I can do whatever I want." And then there could have been some kind of confrontation, and he could have ended up with 7 bullets to the chest, the back, something. Okay, we could have lost his life.
We're not, you know, to me, this story would not have an end to it until we find out what level of accountability was held to this thug. Was he terminated from his job?
No, he wasn't.
Or is he going to be placed on restricted duty, still be getting his salary and the likes? Because at that point, only thing that has to happen is now you take that situation and move it to the situation that we saw earlier, where now the cop has to just, you know, get his cell phone and begin to delete his footage. So, you know, until the day that this thug is held accountable, this situation is not over. And Ben, I would say that we need to continue to follow this case to see exactly what level of accountability is held to this thug.
There's nothing. I'm telling you now. There's nothing. They ended it.
We came
out with a statement, and that is all, because it did turn out to be just a piece of debris from the car, but and that he just threw back in there. So there is nothing that's going to happen. The cops have come to his defense, and that is about it. As far as the most recent news about that. So what happens usually in this time, what we see is that they move on from this because it wasn't that big of a deal. He's still going to have his spot on that particular side of or section of the street or highway where he works or patrols. That's still going to be his. This is not warranted for anything that needs any further investigation. They have already
they trying to close the books on it. They've
already said their piece and they've covered them. And because it was nothing in that, it was just a piece of debris, and that was it.
Yeah, but trying to close the case and closing the case are two different things. And again, this is why platforms like ours are so important. We don't allow that case to be closed. We don't allow it to be business as usual, the status quo. This is why we must continuously keep our foot on the level of accountability and not accept, oh, that's just the way it is. No, that ain't got to be just the way it is.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way, even if it's something so small. But even in the scenarios that I presented, what if there wasn't anything rolling? And what if he did challenge the fact that he threw something in his vehicle? It could have went any type of way. And the most that we've seen this go is people losing their lives or being paralyzed. And that's what we've seen. So
had Rebecca, as I hear you say that, and I'm thinking, because how many scenarios have every single one of us been in, especially as Black men, where if our tone shifts even the slightest bit with the police officer, and you go from a tone of, yes, officer, these Black men in either one of these two videos had shown that type of righteous indignation in those moments, we would be talking about a police shooting, and all because they looked for an opportunity to find drugs when it was a traffic stop for speeding. I just there's so many ways these videos could have ended horrifically. And we're not going to take our foot off. We're not going to take our foot off in it at all.
I think it's horrific if we let this die. You know, again, if 7 million people have watched this, then let 7 million of us put pressure to make sure that fool is held accountable for that. And that needs to happen every time we see the smallest infraction. We don't need to be woke and rise up and protest in the case of us dying. We need to be we need to be serious about every situation in which we see this level of injustice. And then that message begins to be permeated throughout law enforcement. Black folks ain't gonna take none of this. We're not gonna take not 1 inch of your nonsense and your racist behavior on it. It doesn't have to come to the fact of a George Floyd type situation, but every time we see the smallest of their criminal behavior with these thugs, we got to absolutely pull the whole force of our community and every platform, everything that we have at our disposal, we got to hold them fools accountable for it.
Absolutely. Folks, it is 10:23 on the East Coast. It is Monday, July 26th. We have covered a lot of miles, a lot of stories, and we still have not gone through all the stories that we had, but we're going to table some of them for tomorrow. Rebecca Azor, as always, says it is a pleasure spending time with you and covering these stories. Brother Carl Mack, Dr. Carl Mack. It is always a pleasure getting your insight. Georgia Fort on the clock. James, DJ exclusive. Bubba Williams, we will see him back tomorrow on the 1s and 2s. Before I say goodbye, anybody want to get a last word? Say goodbye to everyone else. I'm gonna get out of here and get a few extra minutes before I got to go on daddy duty at 10:30.
Queen,
who said we was ready to leave, Ben? This show ends at 10:30. I need the heads up before we decide these things in your head. I need the heads up. But
here you go. No. I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna do you one better. You got the last 7 minutes.
It's 10:24. We'll get out of here. We'll make it unison. We'll make it a group situation. I love you guys. It is Monday, and you guys already know we don't Monday the Mondays. So I hope that each and every one of you make today something special in some particular way. Thanks to you guys, I want to actually give you guys a thank you. Because of you guys, I was able to get my procedure done, so I get it tested, and hopefully on by the end of August, that's when I get my results back, and I should get them back negative, everything, no cancer cells, no anything, and I will be healed in the name of Jesus. That's what I believe. I believe. And so,
I got one request, Queen, if you don't mind, could you just do this one thing for me? Because when I went on the show last week, and Ben asked you if you were the auntie of Naomi, how would you address her? So, Queen, can you please just go ahead and address Naomi if you are her Haitian aunt?
I will. I'll be talking to old girl Megan Kelly. Listen. Okay,
no, wait. David, edit this into the Naomi Osaka clip. Go ahead.
Naomi chérie, gen yon pile moun k'ap di ke ou pa ka fè sa ap fè. Okay? Kounya ou vini Tokyo, ou ouvri bagay la avec tout bel cheveux, ou te gen tres nan cheveux rouge. Et puis c'est un femme blanc k'ap di ke ou pa gen pouvoir. Mais ou montre que ou gen pouvoir, ou camper devant moun yo, et puis ou prend temps, ou montre que ou capable. Et ça me remet Naomi, parce que ou même ou c'est femme vaillant.
Did you say Megan Kelly in there somewhere?
Crème de la crème. Ou même c'est femme haïtien, femme marabout, femme qui sorti Haïti. And that's why I love you, girl. I mean it.
Wait, what did you say? What did you say though? Tell us what you said.
No, I was just saying, girl, look what you did. You did that. You stood in front of everybody with all of your strength and your force over there in Tokyo when they said that you couldn't. You had Megan Kelly speaking against you, but you pulled over there with your red braids and you opened up and you let everybody see you, and everybody was hating, but you did what you had to do. Look at you, a woman of Haitian descent. You know what we call marabout, the original ancestors in Haiti. Look at you. You come from that. You are the cream. You are the highest.
We need some damn compa music to go out. I wish you had some compa to go out of here.
Thank you so much. I swear that has just absolutely lifted my spirits. Thank you so much, Queen.
You're welcome.
All right, Rebecca, do we have permission to leave the show now? You're right. I do need to check with you first. Do we have permission to leave?
Well, you guys do have permission to leave the show now. I hope that each and every one of you enjoy your day. I send you guys all with good love. Love you. Mean it. Make sure you tune in tomorrow right here for more Like It or Not.
Hey, whether you like it or not, Dr. Mack. I love y'all. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care, everybody.
Much better. Won't you let me stay here forever? Light up in the sky, filled with treasures.
Really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I
could be a hater like you. It could all it was. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you from the inside out. So right now, say it with your chest now. Say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it out. It's your time, oh. Cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you from the inside out. It's time to say it with your chest now. Say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it out. It's your time, oh. If you're on the bus, say yeah. Yeah. If you're on a train, say yeah. Yeah. If you got a